Greetings, I'm Keith Klein, the host of the VentureFizz podcast, where I interview the most fascinating people in the tech scene. This is episode 376, and today's guest is Prem Sharma, founder and CEO of Tandem. When you are a serial entrepreneur like Prem, you are probably coming up with lots of ideas, but how do you decide which one is viable to focus on and actually build a company around? For Prem, it comes down to recognizing an experience that is broken and lots of market research. And this is not light market research, this is total submersion into the industry market research. The interest in Tandem started with a puppy arriving at his home as a new family pet and an experience at the vet. During a visit, he recognized how fragmented the industry was and how inefficient the office operated. This got him thinking about a unified vet experience. But before jumping into build mode, he spent a lot of time working at veterinary clinics and recognized that the appetite for adopting a whole new system was not going to happen, so he was smart to realize a new tech platform wouldn't be the answer. Instead, he had to build a healthcare company from the ground up that includes a comprehensive service leveraging on-site clinics, mobile care, telehealth, and a whole new tech stack for running the overall operation. Tandem announced a $10 million round of funding earlier this year to redefine veterinary care with a comprehensive solution through its novel approach to care delivery, AI technology, and more. In this episode of our podcast, we cover lots of great topics like Prem's background and how he got into entrepreneurship, the story of UB Cabs and what it was like competing against Uber, building DayToDay Health, a virtual patient care company which was acquired by Babylon, all the details about Tandem, the current state of the company and their go-to-market strategy, advice for building solutions in the healthcare industry, and so much more. All right, now a brief word from our podcast sponsor, Silicon Valley Bank. I'm excited to share that this podcast is brought to you by one of the strongest longtime supporters of the local startup ecosystem, that being Silicon Valley Bank, a division of First Citizens Bank. SVB serves innovative tech, healthcare, and life sciences companies, including 60% of CNBC's Disruptor 50 list, 72% of Forbes Cloud 100 list, and 48% of Forbes AI 50 list companies. With more than 1,500 bankers and relationship advisors and $42 billion in loans through Q2 2024, SVB delivers the right people, service, and resources to support your entire financial journey. Learn more at svb.com. All right, without further ado, here's my interview with Prem. Prem, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you because you're a serial entrepreneur. You've done a lot in healthcare, mainly for humans, but now your new company is focused on animals and revolutionizing the whole world of veterinary practices. So we're going to talk a lot about your current company. But before we get into that, as a serial entrepreneur, how do you decide what idea to focus on in terms of building? I'm sure just thoughts run through your head all the time and different ideas, but where do you actually say, okay, I think I can actually build a company around this?
Oh, that's a very good question. And let me give you an example. Like most of the ideas which I have worked on came through personal experiences and problems which I experienced. So, like a story of Tandem was I had sold my previous company, DayToDay Health, and I was on the break of thinking around what should I do next. Meanwhile, my daughter was turning 7, and that's the time she was asking for a puppy. And I grew up in India. Like we never had animals at home. Like that's not part of our culture. So that was bridge too far. But she kept asking, and eventually I gave in. I ended up getting this puppy. And because I was the only person at home not doing anything, I ended up being solely responsible for that puppy who was like 10 weeks old. And then,
Which is a lot of work.
which is a
So
lot of work.
taking
Like
care of a
not
puppy
many
is a
people
is a
realize
lot of work.
it's like a lot of work. Yeah. And so what happened is, on one hand, I was working on this complex healthcare management, reshaping healthcare systems. On the other hand, I have this puppy who's like 10 weeks old, and I'm running around to different places when something will go wrong. And the way the experience was shaped up, I was like, human healthcare is pretty inefficient, but it makes human healthcare look good, which is a very hard job. And then I just got personally obsessed with the problem. I was like, why it is happening? And then I read more about, how stressful the profession is. So the one thing which puzzled me is like, in any other, like in most businesses, the demand will be unhappy or supply side will be unhappy. But in this business, both sides are not doing well. Vet is a profession with the one of the highest suicide rates, and most customers also are not happy, and they don't have a trusting relationship. So it sounded like a very interesting problem for me. So initially, it was not supposed to be a company. I was just doing a research project, uh, built some councils. Like one of the councils we built was called Pet Heroes Councils, and we created this pool of around 1,000 pet parents giving advice all across the US on what they see, what they want to improve about animal healthcare. And then we also created a project called Vet Heroes Council, which is about vets telling us what's wrong with the profession and everything. So we built these very nice communities. And at some point, I realized of everything we have built in human healthcare is the experience is so transferable and so relevant. So we ended up just starting Tandem.
And like a serial entrepreneur, once you kind of like dug deep into the weeds of the problem, was like, how could you not look to solve this and lead you down the path of starting a company?
Absolutely. And this is one thing I forgot to mention. I spent around 3 months actually on the clinic floor working in different clinics. So I used to go in the morning and spend like whole day in the clinics on the floor running around to see what is actually happening inside these clinics.
All right, well, we're gonna have to dig deeper into that in the full story. So, all right, let's rewind the clock. So, what were you like as a child? Were you always entrepreneurial, and how did you get your career started?
Well, I come from a very small town of Agra. It's in northern India. It's the city where Taj Mahal is. And in Agra, there is nothing like there's no industry and much like other than because it's a tourism city. There's not much happening in terms of, so all the professions will be like building something for tourists or making sweets. Like Agra is known for its sweets. So when I grew up, all I wanted to do is just open a sweet shop in Agra. That was my dream. Like
I never knew. Known for its sweets. Okay.
that's a something I wanted to do, and my family didn't have many means to help me support through the journey, so I ended up joining Indian Air Force. So I was a radio fitter in Indian Air Force, and my job was to check the plane before it flies if all the communication system is working or not, and then just uh, give a thumbs up and the plane can fly. So I was, and that's the time I moved to a bigger city, Bangalore in India, and I saw, oh, there's a bigger world. It's very different than what I saw in a small town. In Bangalore, that time, computer companies were coming up, IT companies were coming up. So we realized, oh, there's a new thing happening in this world, which I had no idea about. So after 3 years in Air Force, I left Air Force. I did study computer science, and I ended up joining an IT company in India.
Okay, so how did you get involved in more of the startup world?
So it was an accident actually. Like I was in CSC. My best friend moved to London, and we were just talking about the opportunities and everything. So I thought maybe I should go to London and study, like something good in London, and then come back and get a promotion in CSC. So I I go to London. I got into London School of Economics. I go there to study economics, management, and my plan was to take a sabbatical and come back. So what happens is I was looking for a part-time job, and I saw this poster of some of the startups in the area looking for interns, and these companies were very small, like one-person company or two-person company. So all I needed was just a part-time job. My choice was work for these companies or go and work in McDonald's for a part-time job. So there was no like much thinking. I wish I could say there was a strategy there. So I ended up joining one of the startups, and it was funny for me because I met the founder. He invited me to meet, which I think was one of the spaces which investors gave him, and it used to be a table. And me going from CSC, I will always ask him, okay, this company we're talking about, where is this company? Because for me, like, company was a big building, and we will go there and we will work. And this guy will come with his laptop and sit down, and like two other people, and we will sit around the table. And I kept asking them, like, where is this company we are talking about? And they will realize that this is the company. So that was
This is
my
it.
entry into startups.
So you were like well ingrained into a true startup.
And then I started enjoying it. Like, I realized, okay, we can just do what we wanted to do. I saw very closely how founders work, how founding teams work, and I grew up with them. So from four of us, the company grew to around 100 people. I ended up running the entire product and technology division, and the CEO mentored me in terms of how I can grow and everything. So it was a very educational 4 years for me. And then the company got acquired by a public company. That journey gave me confidence to start something of my own. So I was like, I have been in the room, I have seen how it works. So I ended up starting a company with a couple of other friends, again back in London, in transportation, company called UBCabs.
So the first company, Fizzback. So what was the product?
We were using AI for customer sentiment analysis. Now we call it AI, but in those days we used to call it natural language processing.
That's why I wanted to ask you because I'm like, well, this is early, NLP, now AI, right? Like I'm like, you were working on large data sets then. Like,
Yeah, we used to manage like hundreds of millions of customer records. And the what we were trying to do is the market research and customer data, which traditionally used to take months to get to insights. We were using natural language processing to get insights within seconds, so that you can act fast on it. And that was the core thesis of the company.
got it. Okay. And then Uber cabs, like what was that?
UBCabs was something similar to Uber. Started at the same time. We had a good footprint in the UK. We grew the company, and like all over the national network of around 25,000 cars all across the UK. And then we got crushed by Uber's this $1.4 billion round, because when that happened, like, uh, it was bigger than many funds in the UK. And they launched in the UK, they crushed all the competition, they gave cars free for a long period of time. So after seeing, a successful exit, also understanding that how companies go down, how competition could crush a company, was very humbling, but also very, very educational. Like, understanding that this is all not rosy. Everybody thinks so. Many startups fail, but they never think it can be my startup.
Right.
And just
True.
living through that journey was very, very humbling and very educational.
Yeah. No, competing against Uber was very, very difficult. Like, I don't know, did you watch the oh, was it Apple or whoever did the super pumped?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Netflix. Yeah, yeah,
Netflix. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
It was entertaining, but you saw like firsthand how ruthless they were. But
Yeah,
you
it's
had to.
ruthless. Yeah, like, even when they came to London, they didn't really follow any law and everything. And we were like, how this company is going to operate? Because all of that was very new for the world. Like, some company can come in, can ignore all the law, and can just operate, and they can go into lawsuits, because nobody has seen that much money going into a VC company before. And nobody knew what the possibilities are, how far you can stretch everything.
Mhm. So what'd you do next?
So after these two journeys, I also had a lot of financial loss in my previous company, in UBCabs. So I was looking around, what do I do next? And the one thing I realized after these two journeys, that it gets really hard. So something which you are not really passionate about, something which doesn't have any impact, is very, very hard to do. Something which you have to closely relate to the mission. So I thought maybe I should do something a bit more impactful. So I was looking around, meeting other entrepreneurs, and somebody introduced me to this guy named Ali Parsa, who had taken his previous company public in healthcare, but building hospitals. And now he was starting a digital healthcare company. So I didn't know anything about healthcare, like not even edge of healthcare. Like my healthcare experience was limited to just seeing doctor like twice when I was in London. So not much idea, but I knew about technology, digital experiences, AI in those domains, and I was like, this is the entrepreneur who has taken company public, has built big companies. I can also learn a lot from him. So I ended up working with him. We had an amazing journey over next 4 years. Raised a lot of money, built a company. Like by the time I left, I think I was managing a group of like 200 people. Babylon
Wow.
grew to uh, maybe like 700 people. By the time I left, we launched our product in African countries, UK, Middle East, Canada. They were like it was like a ride. I had
Mhm.
a lot of fun, a lot of work, but also learned a lot about healthcare. The insight which I developed was, at least at that time, healthcare was limited to primary healthcare. Digital healthcare was limited to primary healthcare. And the moment somebody will have a like episode of acute healthcare, like a surgery or cancer or something serious, they will
Mhm.
fall out of the loop and nothing will happen. And I was like, why is this happening? Like, why there are no tools in this side? And Babylon was focused on primary healthcare. So I met somebody in London who came from MIT. I had a discussion with them, and they were like, "Oh, this is the kind of research we do at MIT. This is, definitely you should come." And like these are, so I got excited about the possibility of learning and doing these things. Before that, all my life, I studied, but I also worked all the time. So I kind of never studied properly. Like even when I was in London, I was working half of the time. So I did whatever study was required. So I thought maybe there's an opportunity to focus and study something. So I came to MIT for a 1 year program, and I was very focused on understanding what can happen in healthcare, uh, especially in acute healthcare settings. So we did a lot of research projects with my co-founder Khalid, which is a funny story. Like, I think I'll just sidetrack on how I met Khalid.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna ask, like, how did the
yeah,
two of you meet?
so we it was first day of college, and we were just sitting, and people, they share bios of who all the people are, and I was just sitting, and Khalid comes to me, and he's like, "Oh, like I was looking for somebody who is not a doctor, who has done something in healthcare, and I'm really happy to meet you, and I believe we will do something great together." And
Wow.
that's it. Like that was my day one, and it has been almost 8 years since then. We have been working together. Uh,
Total fate. Total
Total
fate.
fate. Like I just like I still remember that conversation. He just came in, and now we built our first company together. Now we are building our second company
Right.
together.
So how did the two of you get going as far as building this company?
So we were doing a bunch of class projects. So in MIT, the one good thing is they let you do these independent studies. So where you can design your own course, you can define your own problems. So we did a lot of studies of what happens with the heart attack patients, what happens with the cancer patients, what kind of interventions they need, what problems do they get. So like if I summarize what our understanding, what we learned at the end of it, that 80% of the healthcare journey is happening outside these healthcare settings. So you go to hospital to get treated, but then the care is happening at home where there is no support. Like most you will get bulk of papers, all the information given to the patients, 80%, 90% of it is gone by the time you leave the hospital.
Hmm.
And then you go home, half of the information you remember is correct, half of the information is incorrect. Which means if you think about 80% of the healthcare journey is happening in dark with no support, no adjustment, no personalization, nothing. So that was the idea of DayToDay is we are the hospital, outside the hospital. So
Mhm.
you go to hospital for intervention, and then rest of the healthcare journey we take care of.
Which that is like, I just think of, having parents that, had procedures or surgeries. It's a lot. So it's like after, the doctor pops in, okay, you're going to get discharged. Here's what you need to do. And here's some reading materials. Good luck.
And also, it's a lot of activity, but it's also multimodal. So while when you go in, like, surgery is different, but when the recovery, there's a physical aspect of it, there is a medicine aspect of it, there's a mental health aspect of it, there's a nutritional aspect of it, there's a coordination aspect of it. So it gets multimodal as you get out, which means like no one skill set can even help you.
Well, so building this is complex because there's so many different parties involved. So how did you get started?
Yeah. So the good thing was Khalid used to be electrophysiologist, so he was a surgeon. So he knew a lot about what happens when he discharges, when the patients come. So we had a lot of insights on how it is. But for MVP, what we did is we got a group of one dietitian, one nurse, one physiotherapist, like all the different roles we thought will be required for a patient together. And initially, we just started as a phone service to just learn what kind of issues are coming up, because nobody had managed these patients outside the hospital. So we didn't even know what the issues we'll be handling. So, for example, the first journey we managed was heart attack patients or CABG patients, the grafting open heart surgery patients. And, it was a very important insight for us. 70% of them, almost say 73 something, were confused when they go back home what they should eat, because they have been given so many restrictions on what they can do, what they cannot do. And everybody's household is different. It depends upon the culture, where you came from, what is being cooked at home, what cravings do you have. So they will get dietary advice in 15 minutes, and then they'll be like, go home. So people got go home confused. Can I have ginger in my tea? Now, there is no documentation about ginger anywhere. And can I have this? Can I have that? And like, what's happening? Uh, and there's so many other questions like that which were coming with the patients, and we developed our own library. So then we eventually learned everything. Okay, if this person is going in home and they belong to this culture, like this is what the questions are going to be. So we got more and more proactive as we managed more patients.
And obviously there's a lot of parties involved and value at the end. Obviously, patient care is better. But were you selling to like the insurance companies because they don't want the patient to be re-entered back into the hospital, right? So,
While insurance companies don't want people to enter, it is also very hard to get paid for these things from insurance. And sometimes the penalties with the providers. So were working with we were working in different countries, and we had different systems. So when you're working our work in South Asia or Asian countries, it was out of the pocket. People will avail the service; they will pay for the service. When you're working with in the UK, it was NHS. So NHS wanted to keep people out. So National Health System will pay for the services. In the US, we had different models. In some cases, providers, in some cases, not the insurer per se, but the people who were managing the risk to manage to avoid the financial implications. So it ended up being like a very different kind of model for different places.
yeah, it depended on the country. That makes sense. Yeah, because in the US, I was wondering that because how did you build it? As it like, did you raise capital and like
Yeah,
what scale did you
yeah,
get to?
yeah. We raised capital. Babylon Health was our strategic investor, and then we had some of other investors coming in, and they also helped us to grow in different countries. So yeah, we raised around $30 million to build all of this. It was a big platform, yeah.
Yeah, and because you had like I was looking at some history of the company, and there was the three C's model. Coaching, content, and context. It's like the key.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. These three C's, that was part of our research. And what we realized, like most of the healthcare systems are designed for context within the hospital or within a healthcare setting. Like even if you look at EMRs, once you leave the hospital, they don't even know how to store your data, because what is happening at home, your doctor is not taking any notes anymore. A nurse is not doing charting. So the information structure also doesn't support. So one part, the key here was context, that we have to understand the context of what's happening at home. The context may come from the procedure. Uh, what is the risk window? So, for example, a risk window of 1 week after discharge after CABG is very different than 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after discharge. And then the other comorbidities play into, if this person has diabetes or which is very common in case of CABG. So that gives us the context. And there's a changing part of it. What was your temperature today? What happened? What is the pain score? So constantly understanding the context outside was very, very important. And it has, as I told you, like many, many variables. Then the other part is once you understand the context, you have to now coach people through this context. And coaching becomes much, much harder if you don't have the right content to give to people. And the content can be something which you can give to the patient themselves. You can also give to the family members on how to deal with patients. So these three pillars ended up being something which was a core of how do you manage a complex care outside the hospital.
Yeah, very cool. So ultimately, your strategic ended up acquiring the company.
Yeah.
What was your biggest lessons learned on this time of starting a company?
Oh, the one thing which I actually learned, especially because it was my first time doing something in the US healthcare. So I summarize it for people is in US healthcare, problems are simple. They're observable, solutions are observable, which is what is very hard is to get paid, because you have to map to the billing codes and all the revenue lifecycle management infrastructure which is there. So now whenever I get a lot of people coming from MIT reaching out to me, and I always ask them okay, your innovation is good, but what is the billing code to be paid for all of this?
you can
Which is
you can you can talk to them in 1 second, ask them that one question. If they can't answer that, you're like, well, you got a long way to go.
I have a long way to go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, I have been in your shoes. I wish anybody would have asked me this question, uh, on the first day I was starting the company. I learned it after 2 years.
It's such a mess. It's such a mess. Oh my God. Hopefully, I know there's lots of entrepreneurs working on trying to fix it. There's a company in New York called Cedar that I had the founder on my podcast, and it's just like it's the only industry that you enter into a place and not know what you're gonna pay.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah. And that in if any other industry it happens, it will lead to a very high trust deficit. So, the thing is this typical information arbitration problem where one person knows a lot more about this. So, if you go to a car mechanic, and it's not a great analogy, but if you always think car mechanic knows more than me about what I'm going to do, so it creates this fundamental distrust of what they're going to charge me for. And what happens in healthcare is you really have no idea. So this arbitration of problem creates fundamental distrust in the relationship.
I hope you are enjoying this interview. Just a brief word from our sponsor. As a longtime champion in the local startup ecosystem, Silicon Valley Bank supports innovative companies with the solutions and financing they need through every stage of growth. With more than 1,500 bankers and relationship advisors and $42 billion in loans through Q2 2024, SVB delivers the right people, service, and resources to support your entire financial journey. Learn more at svb.com. So you gave kind of a little bit of the background story already on Tandem as far as the puppy arriving at your home and being the primary caregiver and recognizing some of the faults of the industry. So what like I guess let's take the story from there. Kind of like so you talked about some of these uh, research groups that you established. Like how did you get that started and start to really narrow down some of the problem sets?
Yeah. So when we were doing research, the one insight came in, which is actually the insight from human healthcare also, is a different company providing different solution. You go to one company for telehealth, then you go to another company for primary care. Then you have urgent care issue, you go somewhere else. And something else happens, you go somewhere else. Another company is doing pharmacy. And as a pet parent, I am responsible to run around, deal with all these companies, while like a new person like me who doesn't even know that much about the pet. Like people will ask me a question and I was like, I don't know, like I have no idea. So the one thing I realized is these different silos are creating mediocre experiences. They were not bad, like you can get around it, but they were creating mediocre experiences. And other than that, they were also adding to a lot of stress to the profession. Like uh, one thing I saw, and when I was used to work in these clinics, the phone will be ringing all the time. And as a person, like I haven't worked in any office where the phone rings all the time for a long period of time. So for the other people, it was normal. I mean, it was adding to stress, but it became normalized. But for me, it was like, why is this phone ringing all the time? Because they're asking for basic questions. Why don't you just go somewhere, automatically solve their issues? They want to change the time, they could change the time. Like anything which can be done, because there are very few things for which people should be calling. But then I realized there are already 14 different systems. If you go into a vet clinic and see how many systems and browser windows they have got open, you will be like, like there's a system for every little thing. And constantly people are switching between different. There's a booking system, there's an insurance system, there is a CRM system going on, there's a phone ringer system, there is a uh, billing system, there is a EMR. Like people are constantly switching. Then the labs, diagnostics, all the systems come into play, and it creates like inefficiency, very high stress environment to work, and it doesn't lead to good experience anywhere. So that was one big part. People not the information arbitration problem we talked about, where people always felt like the vet knows a lot more, and not understanding what's going on creates a trust deficit. So I started seeing all these problems, and at the end, I was like, my dog doesn't care. It's a primary care or telehealth. We just want problems to be solved. That's it. Like, what if there is a company I can just go to and it doesn't matter? They talk to me, they navigate me to the right place. If I need primary care, go there. So we started working on this idea of what if there is just one company I ever go to and it takes care of all my needs. If I need something at home, use our app. You need well-being. I like my for me like going to hospital, knowing like my previous background that hospital acquired infection is a real thing. Hospital is not the best place to go all the time. Moving care outside hospital was a another big mission for me. So I was like, why do I need to for vaccination? We can put everything in a mobile clinic. We can park clinic outside your building once a month, get all your vaccination done. You don't need to go to the clinic. You only go to the clinic when you absolutely need to go. So we created these three layer offerings where everything which needs to be done at home will happen at home. For wellness, we will come near you, get your wellness done. And for anything serious, the clinic is there, the dental, the surgical, and everything. And whatever supplies you need at home, we will ship everything to your home. Or you can go and pick it up from one of our vans, or you can go and pick it up from the clinic. So for pet parents, you just need one app in your pocket, Tandem, and that's it. We take care of everything for you. To deliver this, we had to do a lot of groundwork, and which took us a lot of time, because the vans have been there for a long time, the clinics have been there, telehealth has been there, but they never work end to end together. And if we put everything piecemeal, then we will have the same problem as other companies have got. So we ended up building this whole platform ground up. Luckily, we had experience of building this stuff for human healthcare. So we knew a lot of foundational work which we could borrow. And then we had amazing veterinarians helping us to shape it for veterinary care. So in Tandem, there's only one system for both pet parents and doctors. Just go at one place. You can go anywhere. It's all same version of truth. Uh, Wherever we could use AI for efficiency, we have used AI for efficiency. Our admin admin workload, which is like a big part of a vet's day. Almost vets spend 2 to 3 hours doing admin work. Our admin work is zero. We use
Wow.
AI,
Yeah.
AI agents for everything we can automate. So while we are like improving the experience, the what's happening, but we are not like a primarily just trying to do AI for the sake of AI. We're just automating everything which can be automated for a vet.
People are always like, hey, talk to your customers before you really start to build. Make sure you understand the problems. But how did you get access to the clinics? Like, did you just knock on doors and say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur trying to learn more about this problem?
Oh, so what happened initially? This is very interesting. You asked this question. So, I've been a tech entrepreneur all my life. So the one thing I realized is that tech itself won't do much in this. But I also knew that I know nothing about building hospitals. Like I had no idea. Like I have never built anything in my life. So initial idea was that okay, we should go and partner with existing clinics. And then possibly like we can acquire one or two and see like we can build the tech layer. So we were going there for discovery of what we can do and like what can be done. And then the my biggest learning was, which is very very important if you're thinking about any product in healthcare, is the integration of all the workflows. How does it really work? Building technology is easy, but then how do you fit? How do you change culture around it? Ends up being big issue. And then we realized that what we really wanted to build, it was so different from any of the existing workflows that we will meet with lot of friction if we try to implement everything. And because it was a completely different way of changing. Like we are not the one thing for us is we don't invite anybody to come to the clinic. No, our like while every other vet clinic wants people to come, we are like, let's solve and meet and solve your problem wherever you are. For us, the best thing is if we solve all your problems without even coming to clinic,
Hmm.
which is very counterproductive if you talk to a vet because they only make money when somebody shows up to the clinic.
Right.
So if you talk to a normal vet, they will say it doesn't make any sense what they are doing. But our thinking has been do the right for the customer, for the pet, and everything will take care of itself.
So fast forward to like where's the business now?
So we have finished developing our tech platform, which finished last August, September. We have been running our beta. So we have partnered with around 100 building in Boston, where our van goes every month or 2 months to deliver the primary care, on-site primary care. People, we have around, I'll say like 1,000 active users using us every month. And we are building our first hub. It's a 5,000 square feet state of the art pet healthcare hub between Cambridge and Somerville, and we are looking to open it end of June, mid of July, like in that time frame.
And then you just recently announced funding. So talk about the details of that.
Yeah, so we have raised funding from a few family offices and early stage VCs combined, and this 10 million enables us to open our health hub, build our technology, and get to like a revenue of $4 to $5 million ARR before we go for our next funding round.
And you're building an interesting company. So like, so what does the team look like? And like, are you going to be hiring more or?
Yeah, so actually, it's very interesting. Our team has people from real estate development to AI engineers to designers to software engineers to operations people to vets to vet technicians. It's like a quite a diverse set of people. Like sometimes in our meetings, there will be like 10 people with 10 different skill sets trying to work together, and I think that's the kind of group has to come together to innovate something so complicated. And we are very thankful for all the insight we get from all the different domains. We are planning to hire another, I will say, 6 vets and another uh, 12 to 15 veterinary technicians. And then we are also hiring in our AI team.
Yeah, it's a fascinating business. It's very complex, disruptive. I mean, you're building the full stack, right? So it's you know, be yeah, so we got the technology, you got the physical location, the telemedicine, the pharmacy piece too, where you'll ship the drugs to the owners. So it's there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely. And our mission has been is like when we talk as a team is we want to build the best healthcare experience possible. Not humans, not pets, like the best healthcare experience we can build possible. Luckily, it's easier to build it in animals than humans, is because of all the regulations and payment restrictions and all the different players. So hopefully, this innovation can also lead to innovation in other areas of human healthcare.
So what's your go-to-market plan? It's a consumer company, so how are you going to build up, the adoption and brand awareness?
So we are doing a lot of grassroots awareness and marketing. So for example, us being present in 100 different buildings gives a lot of grassroots access. Initially, we use, we did events pretty much every month to all these buildings where I will go personally meet the pet parents, tell them about what we are doing. So create like a real bonding and awareness. We plan to open 4 more locations in different parts of Boston, and we plan to grow our van footprint to 12 more vans. So you will see us like our name lot out there, like our vans running around as we open. Our focus is primarily going grassroots, meeting the pet in communities, uh, because it's like pediatrics. You can see a lot of advertisement, but at the end, you only trust if somebody refers you or the brand for your kid. And pets are new kids. So this is the stuff where like real grassroots on ground marketing is far more helpful.
I agree with that because if I saw like a social media ad, I was like, nope. But if I was living in a large apartment complex with a dog and I could meet your people and see that there's a physical, like, there's just something there that's like tangible that you just have more faith that this is the right care versus a social media ad. So I think that's the right way to go, definitely.
Absolutely.
And the cost of acquiring customers on social media is insane now too. So that's just
Yeah, it's much
inefficient.
harder. It's the relationships are, and also like we are not in the business like mass business. Like our one location can serve max like 10,000 pets. So we don't need hundreds of thousands of users. Once we have 10,000 members, then we have to move members to the next location.
And do you view the future? This will be a national brand.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea that initially we want to focus on Boston, greater Boston area as our learning ground. We want to make sure we perfect the market, understand the users. The product becomes like really, really good, and then we will start rolling out to other cities.
As we noted, you've been working in AI for a long time, building companies. So this isn't the first time you're building something which, um, there's definitely entrepreneurs out there that are repeat founders and building again in this AI world, which is amazing. Um, so what advice would you have for entrepreneurs that are trying to build some AI type of solution, but specific to healthcare? Because I think that's a different layer of complexity versus maybe some other industries.
My first advice will be to understand how do you get paid. So I'll go repeat the same thing. Like problems are simple, solutions are simple. How do you get paid is very very hard. That's one part. The second part is to focus on workflow integration. People build really nice solutions, but how will it work with the daily work this person is doing? Because the same thing we saw in the vet industry, people build a lot of nice solutions, but there is one more portal for somebody to go and log in. And these frictions like really kill the adoption. So focusing on adoption, understanding how do you get paid, and then also looking at regulatory and all those kind of things are very very important. The one thing I will say is for any entrepreneur who is building especially solution for patients directly being used, is spending some time with patients is very very important. Like I went and met pretty much every patient DayToDay served for maybe like first 250 300 patients. I just went to and met everyone, and the amount of insights I got from just meeting them was phenomenal. Like there's no better user. So spending time with users is like very very important. I know it's a cliche, but it's just one of those basics which is like there's no better educator than users.
It's cliche, but it's not always followed. And even though you hear the advice over and over and over again, I like the most successful entrepreneurs I talk to through this podcast are the ones that do the grunt work that you're doing of sitting down one by one. Um, the founder of Vidya Health, he went to dentistry, each dental practice, knocking on doors, door to door, asking them about how they, evaluate patients and x-rays and their process. So
It's funny,
you got to
like
do the work.
so we signed up. We were talking to an investor at that time. We had signed up around 40 buildings, and the investors were asking me, okay, what does your sales team look like? I was like, that's me. He was like, what do you mean? I was like, I go door to door every day. I wake up in the morning, I know that 9 to 12 that nobody's coming to check the apartments. So the staff has just come in, they are free, and I will just show up to the apartment. Sometimes they will meet, sometimes they will not meet. So literally, first 30 apartments, we signed up just going door to door personally.
That's awesome.
There was no Salesforce, there was no email, nothing. It just
Yeah.
print some papers, leaflet, just go and show up. But it's very humbling, but you also learn so much. There is nothing else. Like you can read as many reports as you want to read, whatever is happening in the market, but just being on the ground teaches you a lot. Like get out there. Like I have done events where I will show up, get like a table set up, get a pup cup bar, serve pup cups to the pet parents and talk to them. So yeah, it's fun. Like uh, I was running a few hundred people company and then going and setting up a desk and just talking to people. Uh, it's fun.
Well, with Tandem, if you didn't spend the time in the clinics, you could have been like, I'm going to build the, single source of truth for all integrated vet apps, like the CRM and then the labs and everything that, all those different workflows that you were experienced to. And to your point, they, it would have just been another piece of tech that they've been like, no, no, I don't need more tech. I already have all these 10 apps that I already pay for. I don't need. So you saw that they're not going to change their workflow and change these apps for a single layer of a platform. That you had to build this a whole new concept from the ground up, including physical locations and physical mobile vans of clinics. And so it's a different approach. But you wouldn't have known that if you didn't spend time in the clinic.
Yeah, I don't think selling tech works, especially like, I mean, you can build a decent company, but if you really like, I remember Steve Jobs' quote, who used to say, people who are really serious about software create their own hardware. Like people who are really serious about solving problem create their own consumer channels. They don't stick to other consumer channels.
All right, three apps you can't live without. Can't be Slack, email, or calendar.
So the one app I use a lot these days is ChatGPT. Like, it's been like life changing for me, like to brainstorm, think through ideas, and I highly recommend for any entrepreneurs. Like this is one of the apps. Another app for me is YouTube. Like I see a lot of videos, news, and everything. Like I consume. And third one is Audible for my audiobooks.
I consume a lot of audiobooks. It's like I just don't have the patience or the time to sit there and physically read, but driving and
Yeah, you can
doing
close
other
your
things,
eyes, lie down, like, and just
yeah,
listen to the book. Yeah.
yeah, it's great. All right, how about speaking of books, a good book or podcast recommendation?
So one book, is like has been very, you know, has shaped me a lot as an entrepreneur. Is this book by Stephen Pressfield called "Do the Work," and it actually teaches entrepreneurs of how to just start doing something. The book was not supposed to be written for entrepreneurs; it was written for writers, because writers sometimes get blocked in writing. But there's a lot of entrepreneurial lessons you can learn from that book. And then any book by Clayton Christensen, Innovator's Dilemma, Innovator Solution, I highly recommend for people who are looking for innovative solutions, especially when you are thinking about, okay, this thing I'm building could change the industry. I highly recommend reading like pretty much all the books by Clayton Christensen.
All right, what about outside of work? What do you like to do for fun?
Uh, I spend a lot of time with my daughter. Like, I take her out. I play video games. I'm waiting for new MLB, the Show 25 to come in. And I'm also a photographer. I am a trained photographer. So I go and take pictures sometime. That's it.
Well, Prem, thanks so much for taking the time to walk us through your background story. Yeah, and all the great experience of building companies, obviously what you and the team are up to with Tandem, and obviously all the great advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.